Good Tuesday morning, Market Chameleons, and everyone joining for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon pre-market show. This man, all the way from the city of brotherly love, where the turnpike stops halfway. Dimitri Pargamanik. How you doing, D?
Hey, Will, how are you?
Good. You want to start with the disclaimer?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not a registered investment advisor. We're not a broker-dealer. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need advice, call your registered investment advisor, call your broker. That's what they're there for, to give you advice, provide you with guidance. There's the disclaimer.
Alrighty.
And let me share my screen. While I'm doing that, a couple things. We do have a webinar today with Interactive Brokers. That's going to be later on it's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern. You do have to register to that because Interactive Brokers is hosting it. And we'll be talking about analyzing options trades, but from the perspective of their Greeks, Delta, Gamma, Vega. That will be today at 2 p.m. So if you do miss, even if you miss it, you'll be able to go watch the recording. They'll email it to you. That's 2 p.m. Before we start the show, just as a note, anybody coming here for the first time, Will and I, we do these shows in the morning to help answer questions you may have about the Market Chameleon tools, data, or analytics. So if you have a question, you want to ask it live, we provide a link to Zoom on the live chat. If you click on it, it takes you over to Zoom. Once you're in Zoom, click on raise your hand. Once we let you in, you could ask your question live. If you prefer to type your question, you can also type your question into the live chat on YouTube. Will's watching it. He'll read them back to me. While we're waiting for more people to join and for questions to come in, we'll start with taking a look at the pre-market report, see what's moving in pre-market hours, if we could get any insights. And after, we'll take questions. If we don't get any questions, I'm going to just kind of build on or continue on some of the conversations we've been having from previous shows. Okay.
Perfect.
So let's start out with the pre-market report. These are stocks trading in the pre-market hours. I'm going to come down here and we have 3 lists. We have a list of our most active stocks, a list of our biggest percentage gainers and biggest percentage decliners. I see we got 98 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 24 in the decliners. So from this perspective, we're looking like we're setting up for a bullish bias at the open. I'm going to scroll up here as well. And this here, let me refresh this because I think we just had the CPI numbers come out, so it might have changed. I do believe, the CPI numbers came in as expected, showing that the rate of inflation is decreasing. So we're still at an inflation rate that's considered elevated, above the 2%, 2% target price for the Fed, but that it's declining. So the market is taking that as a positive, that maybe the Fed can stop raising interest rates. Maybe it'll just come down on its own if they hold the interest rates here and then start moving the interest rates down. So right now, looks like we're setting up for a positive bias at the open, and this is what's going on in the pre-market from a high level. So June 13th, this is today, we see the number of stocks higher versus number of stocks lower. So 711 stocks so far in the pre-market are trading higher than the previous day's close, 203 lower. As far as volume, number of shares, 145 million shares trading higher versus 56.4 million lower. And if we convert that volume to dollar volume, multiplying that by the dollars spent, $5.8 billion worth of stock trading higher versus 681 million lower. So broadly speaking, looks like a bullish bias at the open. If we come down to this list down here, we do see that a lot of the stocks that made this list are low cap stocks. You can see this column here, that's the market cap. Low cap stocks, we have ETFs in there, leverage products, any security that's listed on a major US exchange. If it's trading in the pre-market hours and it does meet our thresholds, it can make this list. And we could narrow down this list to a smaller group of stocks using filters. So let's use a filter here above as an example. I'm going to choose this one in ETF. When I drop it down, I get different ETFs to choose from, broad-based ETFs, sector ETFs. This top one, SPY, that's the S&P 500 ETF. Let's select that. And the filter filters out stocks that are holdings in the SPY ETF, which are the S&P 500 constituents. And we see here 26 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 2 on the decliners. Again, showing there is positive momentum at the open. Some of this and a lot of these stocks just look to me, that are popping out, continue to be that AI story. So artificial intelligence, continues, I think, to be, the big catalyst or move behind this swing up. So let's see. Well, we're right at, gave enough time for more people to show up. Do we have any questions? If not, I'll just kind of move on.
No questions have popped up yet, but we do have a little bit of a delay.
Okay. So one of the things, maybe we could talk about, let me put up my paint. One of the things maybe we could talk about is, what kind of what is a successful trading system looks like. And it stems from, sometimes you get questions, well, bring up your monitor. So what do people usually see? This is what you probably most likely see. You see people, they open up an account, they have a terminal, right, with, prices, charts, right? Then you open a brokerage account, you have this visual, right? And then once you have this visual, you're assuming, well, I have everything I need. Now I just need to be told what to do to make it successful. And the assumption is that everything to be successful is right in this screen, right? After all, you see all the prices, you have the charts, and you have this execution system, right? So you could execute trades, you could buy, you could sell, you have prices in there. So now I just want to see somebody take this execution system and show me how it works and make it successful. And a couple things here to keep in mind that, as far as trading goes, because trading, you're trading risk assets, there's an element there of uncertainty and luck. So anybody, can buy or sell something and still get lucky, right? There is an element of luck. It's not the same as a different profession where you cannot get lucky if you don't have the right skills, right? Like, and we mentioned this before, you're not going to get lucky performing brain surgery on somebody if you don't have the right skills, or you're not going to build a house by getting lucky going to Home Depot or anything like that. So there is an element there of luck that people will then sometimes assume that it's easy. But you have this terminal here, and it's an execution system. And remember, this execution system comes from a broker, right? You're a broker, and what does the broker do? The broker, right? What is their objective with when they bring on board a customer? Well, broker, they make, they're in the business of either, generating commissions, right? You know, monetizing order flow, payment for order flow, trading against it. You know, they need you to fund the account, because as soon as you fund the account, they're just like a bank, they'll start, earning interest on lending out either your stock or your whatever you're holding, maybe your capital. If you're just sitting there holding cash, they're going to earn interest on that. And maybe there's other services, like they'll sell you mutual funds, whatever, and then they'll earn fees on that. So this is their objective. You have to take it from their perspective, which makes sense, because this is their business. This is what they're in the business of doing. And in order for them to generate these fees, right, they created this system for you where you, right, this is you. How do they get you into this system, right? Well, like anything, right, to get in the system, you need the most frictionless, fastest way to go right in, right, and do executions, funding, all this. And the issue with that is, right, once you're in there, you're ready, you're executing, you're ready to go. The issue with this is that you're missing, right, you're missing this whole, sorry. So in reality, you're missing this whole other part that you will need to really be, that creates a lot of friction to make this fast. And this whole part here, are necessary steps in a successful trading operation. But like any system, right, anything that you're when you're going to the end user, to the customer, you have to remove as much friction as you can to get them in, right? So they're doing it because if they created this whole thing for you, it would take forever to get it in there. So this piece here, I'll discuss. Where's my paint here? Can I paint that? This piece is the most critical part, to be becoming successful, but it has to get removed for the purpose of this, right? The broker, it has to get removed, because otherwise you'll spend too much time and never get here. So let's talk about this, this red part here. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of remove it. And, one of them, the most important, right? Before you even get into anything, I got to stress this, that there has to be an education piece. You have to go through this. There's no other way of learning. And the thing is about learning, you have to be willing to learn, something that is not easy, right? In other words, not entertaining. It's boring. So it's not the same thing as just watching somebody, on a TV or YouTube video. It's usually boring and it's time consuming. Okay. And unfortunately, you could see when I put that in front of you and I say, this is a necessary step, that creates friction all the time, because you hear it all the time. I don't have time. I don't have the energy. It is too complicated. I don't have the money. All these excuses start popping up right away. These for this part, you're going to hear lots of excuses, but the thing is that you have to realize that it's Wall Street. Wall Street doesn't care about the excuses. They don't care. You could be the best complainer in the world, the most laziest, best complainer in the world. Like maybe you won the #1 prize for that, but that's not what Wall Street's competition is. It's quite the opposite, right? So you don't get any kind of points for it. They don't. Wall Street just does not care, right? It doesn't care if you could complain or you're too busy or you don't have time to learn or whatever. It doesn't care. Okay, so this is a necessary step, and it's initial steps, and then it's ongoing. All right, so that's a necessary step there, and I can't emphasize enough. But people, that creates friction right away. All right, so that part, is not a prerequisite, right? There's no requirement that you have an education on risk and what are stocks and what's the difference between a common stock and a preferred stock. There's no requirement that you have to go through this to open up a brokerage account and fund it and trade. Okay, that's all on you. So this is on you, and you want to skip it. Okay, that's up to you. But I believe that that's a necessary step. So then, how does this? So is this enough? Let's say you do this, right? Let me elevate this here a little bit. So is the rest of it, if you do this, is this part enough for you to be successful? Right? Is this it then? And the answer is no. Okay. And let me show you something. If you take a business, right? Because you're entering trading to do something that once you put your something in inventory, your risk capital, you want more money, whatever you put in, you want more money out, just like any business. And look how business operates, right? What's the critical thing? First it goes through this research and development, right? So did I spell that wrong? Just put R&D, right? Research and development, product, which it needs to do for product creation, right? Then it'll go through developing these products, and to develop the products, it has operating expenses. All right, they'll have operating expenses, and this will include, all kinds of stuff, salary, marketing, rent, insurance, all this stuff, cost of goods, has all this stuff. Then it creates the inventory. And then the last thing is that it goes to sales. Okay, so this is going to be the last thing it does, is the sales. And then it has a feedback loop going back. So this going to sales, that's basically your last step. That's the execution. That's what's up here. Okay, this is your execution. So it's not the first thing you do. Everybody's going there, jumping right to execution, but it's the very last thing. So let's take a look at the trading operation. All right. You got your research and development, R&D, right? R&D. Well, what is R&D? Well, you got to create your models, right? You got to create a system that's more an efficient system. You got to create your benchmarks. Very important. So remember when trading, right? When we talk about a trade, before you enter in a trade, you're creating models, theoretical values, why you're getting into it, because you're constantly refining. What I'm showing you here, this is you're constantly refining these and testing, right? This is your test. You're going to be testing theories, testing things, because that's your R&D, right? But those here, you see this where right here, you want to build an empire, trading empire. You want to build a big business. It's going to be in here, not in your executions. It's going to be in here. Okay, this here is where you're going to be building it, not in your anybody could buy and sell stock, right? Anybody. But that as long as you're 18 years old and you could fund an account, anybody could do it, right? That's not where the hard part is. It's this part right there. Okay, what I'm showing you. This is where your main thing is, right? Look, you're going to be, this goes after the education piece, right? You're also going to have expenses. Just like these other places, you're going to have expenses. A lot of people think it's not true. You're going to have to have tools that help you along the way. You're going to be buying data, research reports. Eventually, you're going to have expenses, okay, to do these executions. All right, one more thing. What you're going to have to build. You're going to have to build out a risk management tool. All right. This is going to have to be so when we talk about like risk management, so what do we need? You need a system, right? So when we talk about risk management, I'm not talking about I did a trade, right? I did a trade and I'm down 50%. Should I sell it? That's not risk management. You need a system, and it has to look. I made some notes for myself. The system, it has to handle the following: a whole portfolio. It has to manage, measure, detect risk, and find efficiencies and opportunities. So this risk management tool, it's a necessary thing. Okay, it's just like here there's management here, right? All this needs to be managed, right? Your inventory, your costs, your marketing campaigns, your supply chains. There's an entire management system for any business, just like it is for trading. Okay. Then you got your execution. Right. Then you got your execution. Well, first of all, then all these, right, will take up some of your capital. Right. All these sections will take up some of your capital. right? Then you're going to have capital that you're going to do trades, right? Then you're going to have your working capital. You're going to carry inventory of your risk assets, which, is being driven from all this other stuff. And then you got your execution. Which, by the way, your risk management tools are also monitoring your execution for efficiencies, the cost, quality, and so forth. So when you look at this, right, you got first to all this stuff, just like any business. If you want to create, it's what you're in, if you're just trying to throw money at it and get lucky, yeah, then you could just go straight to this, right? Then you could go straight to the top part. If you're trying to build a system that's a real asset, right? Your real asset is going to be in here. That's your real, oh, that didn't look good. All right. All right. I think you guys get the point. It's going to be in there. That's your real asset. Everything else, your risk management, I would say as well. Everything else is just working towards that sales part. Okay. So we're right up at 9:30. Well, I guess there are no questions, but
We had one question earlier that popped up from the fan, and he was asking about, and I sent him the link to the market report or the morning report. He was asking, how do you get new options when they come up on the board? How do you figure that out? He said, is there a schedule for new options contracts are available, like on some securities? The furthest out have end in 2023 and some it's 2025. How do we know when the next date appears? And I thought the morning report,
yeah, in the morning report, like here's yesterday. I don't see any yet today, but these would be, well, these would be only new options for new symbol, so if it's just new options for an existing stock, that has options, because they list them all the time, you just have to go to the options chain.
perfect.
Yeah, and the OCC has it as well. If you really wanted to, like, get a download, like, the OCC clears all options, so you could go to the Options Clearing Corporation, the OCC.com, and you could find them in the memos.
Perfect. All right. Just a reminder, everyone, we do have the webinar today. IBKR, it is in the link. Also, all the webinars we've ever done are on IBKR's website. So you register once, and I think you have access to all the previous webinars as well, which is very cool. Awesome job, Dima. I'll see you too, my friend.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a great trading day. Hope to see you guys later this afternoon.